But this for me is one of the most important parts of our council today, which is when we welcome our guests from all over the world. Because as Franz said, our values have to be upheld everywhere. And I'm really proud of all the work that PES does in supporting our sister parties all over the world. So it's very good to welcome our socialist colleagues and friends from other parts to this fantastic council in a wonderful socialist city, in a socialist country, and soon, 2019, we'll have a socialist Europe. That's what we've got to work for. So the need for solidarity grows. And firstly, we're going to hear from a colleague from Israel, from Uri Zaki, from the Meretz party in Israel, because as we know, peace can only be built by showing people what they have in common. We know that we've got much in common with Meretz, and we know that actually between Meretz and Fatah, there is much in common. So we've got to get out there and build the peace. So you're very, very welcome.
Thank you so much. And it's great being here, and I feel at home. But you know, these days, our government, when they hear that we speak abroad in forums like that, say that the fact that we criticize their policies abroad means that we are traitors of Israel. We are traitors to our own country. They say that when they try, I guess, to hide what they're doing. And comrades, usually, you know, when I speak when I spoke before in this forum, in other socialist family forums, I would speak about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And it's still the most important issue. But much like some of there's a famous scholar in Israel called Professor Leibowitz, passed away. He said 50 years ago when the occupation started that eventually it would penetrate the Israeli democracy, and the tools we use vis-a-vis the Palestinians will be used against Israelis. So when they say we're traitors to our country because we speak out here, they mean that they don't want us to say, for instance, that they are cracking down on the human rights organizations in Israel, that they are cracking down on the Arab minority within the state of Israel, that they legislate laws that try to save them from the corruption that they are, and specifically our Prime Minister, is accused for, that they are cracking down on the Israeli judicial system, which we are all so proud of. And I tell you, comrades, we are not traitors of our country. We love our country. And to love Israel is to criticize the deeds of its current government. The policies of the Netanyahu right-wing coalition are jeopardizing the mere existence of the state of Israel. And everything is done to save the right-wing rule in Israel. You know, it's not by coincidence that there is a strong cooperation between Netanyahu and the Orban government in Hungary and the Polish right-wing government, and the same people who help Netanyahu's elections help the Alternative for Germany party. It's all a network, it's all connected. But I believe that despite, and we're pioneering in this doom or sad times for our family, but I believe that we will prevail, both in Israel and in Europe. I believe that these are the last days of the situation, and that my Palestinian comrade will speak after me. I'm sure it has to be, that the day is not long when we'll see a state of Palestine next to the state of Israel, like the original partition plan by the UN promised, and we'll live with peace with each other. And also, like Leibowitz said, after the occupation will end, Israel's democracy will prevail again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. What the world desperately needs is a two-state solution in which Israel and Palestine live in peace and security, side by side, but together. So next, we're going to welcome Faraj Zayoud, who is in charge of European affairs and multilateral relations for Fatah. These are quite, dare I say, exciting times for Fatah at the moment. Please come and tell us what's happening.
Good evening, dear comrades, dear friends, our PES President, Secretary General, deputies, all of you. I would like to name all of you in his name personally and wishing you all success really for this council, whom Fatah is an observer member. Dear comrades, dear friends, I would like really to talk about two main issues. But first, I would like and fair to say that my comrade and my friend, Zaki, from Meretz, that Meretz is the real peace partner for Fatah in this peace process in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Dear comrades, on the 12th of last October, about a month and a half ago, we, Fatah, have signed the reconciliation agreement between Fatah and Hamas in Cairo under the auspices of Egypt, who now following up and following the implementation of the reconciliation agreement between Fatah and Hamas. This agreement was signed and agreed on the following three issues. First, Hamas has to accept full partnership within the framework of a single Palestinian political system and full Palestinian consensus on all aspects of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. This means that in the next future and after the accomplishment and the fulfillment of the reconciliation, what we call now the national reconciliation between Fatah and Hamas, that Hamas will become a member of PLO. This means that Hamas will be on board regarding this conflict. And at the same time, it was Fatah, not only in the Middle East or in the region, but also in the world, that we really could rescue and bring Hamas back from extremism and going towards extremist parties in the region, acknowledging that the circumstances and political environment in the region really held President Abbas to take this right decision in the right time and sign the reconciliation agreement and ask Egypt and the Saudi Arabia in order to pressure Hamas to sign this agreement. Number two, that Hamas acceptance, the second issue, that why we signed this agreement with Hamas, that Hamas acceptance to return the Gaza Strip under the full control of the Palestinian National Authority and enabling the Palestinian consensus government to work actually on the ground. Number three, restoring the geographical and political unity between the two parts of our Palestinian land, West Bank and Gaza Strip. In doing so, we could really bring Hamas, as I told you, back to our Palestinian national patriotic political party in preventing it to go towards extremism and extremist parties. The Palestinian unity is a basic condition to achieve our people's aspiration in our independent state for our own people and realizing our slogan that we really insisted on, and now we are achieving this, that there will be no state, a Palestinian state. There will be no state without Gaza Strip, and there will be never ever any state in Gaza Strip. I mean to have a Hamas-led Islamic government in Gaza Strip. Dear comrades, as we are commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Israeli occupation of the 1967 territories, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip and East Jerusalem, and the 70th anniversary of the establishment of the State of Israel, which is at the same time, it's our Palestinian people catastrophe, what we call the Nakba, we today hear all over the world, really, all emphasizing on the right of the Israelis in their own state according to Balfour Declaration, without any consideration to our clear and legitimate right of our Palestinian people, the native people of this land. Fatah, the leading party of PLO and the solely legitimate representative of our Palestinian people in Palestine and in diaspora, has already done and implemented all commitments, all obligations towards the peace process and the roadmap. And we, according to our international friends and institutions, that we got 10 out of 10. But the Israeli successive governments after the late Rabin did not implement any single commitment of its obligations and refuses to abide to international law and international humanitarian law and the signed agreement between us and the successive Israeli government. So we call upon international community to stand firmly in the face of this colonial settlement project to stop it before becoming too late. And we really now call upon PES and S&D to have a joint action plan on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, the same as you did in 2010, to have conferences and different activities and events in order not to leave the Palestinians and Israelis, I mean the Israelis, those who are peace-loving, not leaving them alone, and to make sure, as Mr. Betela said also, that not to make sure that the peace process and the fate of the people in the region, the fate of the people in the peace land that never ever saw or witnessed any peace in history, to make sure that it is not a hostage in the hands of the extremist party. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you much.
We will not abandon you. We will continue to work for peace in Israel and in Palestine. I think it was last year that some of us, under the auspices of PES, the S&D group, and our Arab comrades, went to northern Iraq. We went to Sulaymaniyah, where there was an excellent conference that brought together people from the region. But at that conference, we met lots of Iraqi Kurds, some of whom were members of the Peshmerga. And I think that we have an awful lot to thank the Peshmerga for in their fight against Daesh. And therefore, it gives me huge pleasure to ask Sadi Pire from the PUK KRG to come and speak to us. But as I do so, I think we should also remember the very fine leader of the PUK, indeed the founder of the party, Jalal Talabani, who died earlier this year.
Comrades, President Jane, thank you very much for the invitation of PUK, participation of your council of the PES in Europe. We are proud to be a member of this family, and I think we learn from you a lot. And today I heard a lot of very important speech from all of you about peace, about a country and a world without nuclear weapon, and about human rights, self-determination of the people. I represent today here Patriotic Union of Kurdistan, and thanks to Jane, she raised the issue of the passing away of President Talabani 2-3 weeks ago. And President Talabani, he was very important for Iraq after Saddam Hussein, for a new democracy in Iraq, which is now, after Talabani, in danger. Thank you, and thank your country, your people, your government. We could control 90% of the areas controlled before by ISIS, Daesh. But we defeated 90% of Daesh militarily. We need to work together. We need to work together to drain the financial and ideological core of Daesh. Otherwise, like Al-Qaeda, we can expect next 2-3 years they come again with other names, Shabab, Boko Haram, or some other names. Therefore, we have to work together, church, mosques, mass media, intelligence, and also the clever people in the different parties, because Daesh is not only against the Kurdish people or not against the people in Middle East, they are against everybody in the world. Pedro Sanchez, they raised the issue of Catalonia. I thought that they raised the issue of Kurdistan referendum because it's very similar to each other. We had also on 25th of September a referendum in Iraqi Kurdistan. Referendum for us means go back to the people and to ask them, we have no expected success in cooperation with the Iraqi government to solve the problem. Can you give a mandate from now till the in framework of self-determination how to solve the problem? Referendum is not declaration of the country, independence. Referendum is also not signing the borders. The reaction of Iraq, and much stronger than Iraq, the neighbors of Iraq, Turkey and Iran, they cooperated together to put KRG under embargo. Now, two very active airports in Iraqi Kurdistan, international airports, closed. And these two airports was very important for 10,000, 15,000 people injured by a war against ISIS. They have control. We have to send them outside of the country. Now it's a very big problem. And also these two airports was very important for 1.8 million refugees and IDPs in Iraqi Kurdistan. How to bring them commodities, because we have very harsh winter now. We have snow in Iraqi Kurdistan. Therefore, we hear from time to time they say a platform, a cooperation between Iraq, Turkey, and Iran is good for stability in the region. That is wrong. Iraq, Turkey, Iran, they have never a cooperation. Only in Kurdish issue, about the Kurdish problem, they have a cooperation. And that is, I think, one of our problem. And our expectation from you, European countries, please, to cooperate and to support the Kurdish people. We are for negotiation to solve the problem with Iraq in a negotiation way. Our Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, they received today Paris to discuss the same issue with President of France, and also from you as Social Democrats. I know you have supported the region a lot, and I think it's not very difficult also in this period to be active, to bring a negotiation atmosphere between Kurdish people and Iraqi government to solve the problem peacefully. Thank you again for your invitation, and we hope that you have success in your very important resolutions, because progressive and strong socialist parties in Europe is a very big hope for us. Otherwise, we are afraid. Thank you very much.
In October, a delegation of the Progressive Alliance and PES went to the Philippines in solidarity with our sister party there, but also to denounce the dreadful, dreadful extrajudicial killings that take place there, thanks to the appalling president of that country. But I'm very proud to say that Giacomo Philibert, one of our colleagues, will never be allowed in the Philippines again whilst that man is president. So I think we should be proud of that. But anyway, today we're going to welcome Rafael Albert, who is from our sister party, Akbayan, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, comrades. In behalf of Akbayan, I'll appreciate the invitation and the chance to speak before you here at the PES. It's been a while since I was involved in international work, but the times in there's changing scenario in the Philippines, and one of the scenario is the recent 12,000 deaths, extrajudicial killings for the purpose of drug-on war. But recently, these developments created a major shift in foreign policy. Our government is more connected with Russia and China than EU, who has been a long-time partner of the Philippines. Historically, the international community has always played a major role in pressuring the Philippine government in upholding human rights commitments. In a joint statement before the United Nations Human Rights Council, 39 countries expressed serious concern regarding the deterioration of human rights, especially after 154 of 257 recommendations from UN member states were rejected by the Duterte administration. As recently also, the Progressive Alliance and the Party of European Socialists sent a 7-member mission to Manila to speak out against erosion of human rights and democratic institutions in the Philippines. They highlighted the consequences of the worsening human rights situation and the country's trade relations with the EU, especially with the ongoing review of the General Scheme of Preferences, or the GSP+. It's a tool was given by EU for the last few years, for trade. It's around 6,200 products that has give preferential entry to the Eurozone. I hope our member parliaments here in the EU to review it and help pressure the Philippine government to accede to human rights and democratic institutions in the Philippines, because 12,000 deaths and counting is not acceptable in all over the world. No? with the Philippines sliding towards authoritarianism, pressure from the international community must be critical in ensuring human rights and civil liberties. We hope that our sister parties and some members of the activists will come to our country and try to visit the Philippines, also meet the families of the victims, which was done by our comrades, PES. So hopefully, in the next few months and next year will be critical. And hopefully, all of you will speak about our country, the extrajudicial killings, and support us for the fight for human rights. Thank you.
We must and we will do everything we can on the GSP plus point. Now, finally, we're going to hear from Daraka Larimore-Hall, who is the Vice Chair of the California Democratic Party from America. Oh.
Thank you, sister. How are you doing today, brothers and sisters? Well, it's a real pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be here as a California Democrat, as a UZ veteran, and as a proud social democrat. And yes, there are social democrats in the United States. Now you know that there are at least two. So I'm sure you heard that we had an election in the United States last year. And I'm sure you're wondering what happened. Well, here's the thing. You know what happened. You know exactly what happened, because it's the same thing that's been happening across Europe. It's the same thing that's been happening in democracy after democracy, which is that voters who feel left out, who feel ignored, voters who feel like they've been left behind by the political class, who've watched as income inequality has swallowed up their savings, has watched as their rights on the job are taken away or undermined, have watched as their schools are closing, as their environment is less safe, have succumbed to easy, evil answers about the problems. They are angry at the political class, and they're all too willing to listen to easy answers and easy voices, that it's the immigrants among us, that it's the feminist movement, that it's the labor movement even that is responsible for their plight. And we have to have an answer. We have to confront this reality. Because so long as people who feel left out feel that their only way to express that anger and that frustration is to vote for Brexit, is to vote for the Sweden Democrats, or is to vote for a racist, sexist lunatic like Donald Trump, we are in trouble as a society. Now, I'm very, very proud to say that in California, we're going in a different direction. In California, we are leading the resistance against Trump. We have pledged at the legislative level, at the executive level, through the courts, in the streets, in every place that we can, that we will stop, that we will bury the Trump agenda at the California border. We will protect the immigrants among us. We will protect our queer brothers and sisters. We will stand up for the values and the gains of the labor movement, and we will not take one step backwards on women's autonomy over their bodies. But if there's one thing that I know from spending years mobilizing and organizing and debating within the broad social democratic family, it's this: resistance isn't enough. It's not enough for us to just stop the bad. We have to have a project that inspires the imagination of ordinary people. We have to have parties that inspire the trust of hardworking, working-class folks, middle-class folks, men, women, gays, straight, black, white, everyone. We need to renew not just Europe, not just our institutions, but the progressive project itself. And I believe very strongly that this has to be a transatlantic project. We can no longer afford to think that the United States and Latin America and Asia and Europe are all so distinct and so special and such little individual snowflakes that we don't have to pay attention to one another. Those days are over. If we're going to tackle climate change, if we're going to tackle and beat back the wave of racist xenophobia that is sweeping the land. We have to have a conversation together. We have to have a project together. We have to have a vocabulary together. We have to have a movement together. And I am here to tell you that I am dedicated to working on a global level for a renewed, strong, and vigorous left. Thank you very much for your time, and good luck.